Welcome to The Young and the Restless. I'm Zach.
I'm Olivia.
And I'm Victor. And this is the podcast that invited you to the prom as a joke and then everyone laughed.
Now I lay me down to sleep. I dreamt I had a soul to keep. And if I die before I wake, will that dream just go on for its own sake?
There's an ad on Dream Bible right now that's just 2023 coupon codes now available. Not for anything, just generic coupons.
The coupons only work in your dreams.
But the viruses you get are for real.
And they're free.
Maybe they're not free, but they're at a discount.
I have a question for Zach.
What's that?
It's about cheese people.
Cheese people?
Yeah, like you. Like
I was a cheese person.
What are they called? Cheesemongers? Are they called cheesemongers, or is that just for fish people?
No, that's someone who sells cheese.
Okay, I have a question about cheesemongers. When you're interviewing to be a cheesemonger, are they like testing your joke vibes? Do they need you to be really funny? Because like the other day I was at the store and I was picking up like one of my favorite bries, and this woman just goes, "Careful, ma'am. That's a dangerous cheese." And it was like, I know you've said this to like lots of people probably, but she was right. She knew exactly what cheese I was talking about, and it is a dangerous cheese.
Wait, what was the punchline?
Oh, well, the cheese is very good, and you will come back and you'll buy more.
Okay.
And I do routinely.
I thought you were asking because cheese people do seem to be like weirdly like punny.
Yeah.
Like they got a lot of jokes. So that's why I was expecting. I thought that there was going to be some sort of play on the word brie that has to do with danger. I had so many cheese jokes when I was slanging it, when I was slanging cheddar. Well, there's this Spanish cheese called Garocha that's spelled with two X's in the middle. And whenever somebody would try to pronounce it, I would tell them how it was pronounced. And then I'd be like, yeah, I know it's hard. It's got a couple of crazy X's, but hey, who doesn't? Am I right?
Heyo.
Heyo, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like of all of the grocery store departments, the cheese people have like a real vibe going on everywhere, anywhere I go. Anywhere that there's like a fancy cheese section.
Delightful weirdos.
Cheesemonger sounds like kind of an insulting title. Yeah. Sounds like you're like a grubby little guy that's like hoarding cheese like a dragon hoards treasure.
Yeah, sounds like a roundabout way of calling someone a rat.
Right.
Or a rodent of some kind. Yeah, you cheesemonger.
Has anyone seen the cheese wretch around here?
The cheese mongrel.
The cheese mongrel. Remember, there's it's pretty popular. Have you ever had this cheese called Drunken Goat?
I love Drunken Goat.
Yeah, they also make one without the wine on the rind called Naked Goat. And I would always tell people, careful, if you eat too much of one, it leads to the other. They're not good jokes.
They don't need to be.
They're cheesy, if you will.
People aren't expecting any of that in the middle of a Whole Foods. So that's like working to your advantage. You don't need to be coming in real hot and just like a few light cheese puns.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, just some of the most knowledgeable people in their fields.
I'm not sure how much I could remember, but before I stopped eating it entirely, I had quite a bit of encyclopedic knowledge.
But like you could have turned like vegan cheesemonger powers towards like just having an encyclopedic knowledge of like the horrible conditions and exploitative practices that go into the production of every cheese.
Yeah, I'm not that guy. I figure once I stop eating it, then I don't have to know anything about it because I'm already not doing it. I don't need to be convinced. So I don't need to watch the PETA videos.
Here's an idea. Vegan cheesemonger. A monger for vegan cheeses.
All four of them out there.
That's what I'm saying, though. You got to make like gourmet vegan cheeses. Because like, yeah, there's not enough options and they could be better.
Yeah, there's one apparently, I've never tried it. There's an LA-based company making like, more complex vegan cheeses. They only sell it in this store called Erewhon. That I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but it's an LA grocery store chain that's like just for rich people. It's like $20 smoothies and
It's like worse than Whole Foods.
by a lot. Since Whole Foods got bought by Amazon, their prices went way down. They're like virtually a normal grocery store now.
So worse than Metropolitan Market.
I never went in a Metro Market.
I fucking love Metropolitan Market.
It's a good spot. But
Yeah, no. If you walked into an Erewhon, you would immediately turn around and walk out as soon as you saw the price of anything.
There are like $20 smoothies at Met Market.
Yeah, but everything at Erewhon is like you're just paying. It's like like designer groceries. You're just paying for the Erewhon label on your brown paper bag, so people walk into your home and see the bags you're using as a recycling bin, and they're like, "Oh, someone's doing well." It's excessively LA.
Victor, you were laughing in your sleep this morning.
was I really, or is this a bit?
No, you really were.
Huh. That's interesting.
Should have filmed it.
I was too
Yeah,
sleepy.
don't do that.
Next time.
You don't remember what was so funny?
No. Do you remember what was so funny?
I was watching from the outside.
Well, you remember more than I do.
You're just giggling.
Yeah.
You're just a giggly guy.
Having a time. Yeah. I had a dream a couple nights ago that I've kind of like forgotten pretty well, but I wrote it down. So, yeah, we can dig into it, and it's kind of a fun one. It's like a zombie-ish one. We were watching some of the Evil Dead movies recently, like the old ones, because I'm getting hyped for the new one. And I
Nice.
had never seen Army of Darkness, and so Olivia fell asleep pretty quickly, and I powered through. It was a good movie.
Yeah.
But so the monstery stuff in my dream is very like ripped from Evil Dead, like Deadite stuff that I was dealing with. But
Okay. Yeah, on our last recording, we talked about the Evil Dead franchise at length, but I think I cut it out of the episode because the episode was already over an hour, and so we didn't need movie corner.
right.
But now it's
I like that we've been doing that lately.
now it's pertinent.
That's kind of
It's
fun.
pertinent. It's dream information now.
Right.
But I fucking love the Evil Dead series, like everything that they've done Evil Dead.
Yeah, I really liked the show. I'm hyped for the movie that just came out, and yeah, but I hadn't watched all of the old stuff. I'd just seen like the first one. So we watched Evil Dead 2, and like I was like surprised by how like Looney Tunes
Yeah,
that fucking
it's so
movie
much
is.
fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it was like very caught off guard. I was like, this is fully a cartoon.
Yeah, because the first one has some camp, but
Yeah.
I feel like the camp comes from the fact that they knew what their budget was. But other
Right.
than that, they were genuinely trying to make something scary and succeeded. Like it is pretty scary, especially for the time when no one had seen that like point of view, like moving through the bushes shot before.
Yeah.
That was pretty groundbreaking.
It was cool. I remember really like it's like there's subtitles going throughout the beginning that are not what's happening on screen. They're like kind of disconnected from what you're seeing, but it's like telling the backstory as you're watching the movie. It's kind of a cool experimental thing I haven't seen anyone else do.
Yeah. And so this influenced your dream, you think?
Definitely, because like there's like a monster encounter at the end that's just like fully a deadite. But okay, so here's what I wrote down. Had a dream I was with some friends in a minivan at the mall. There was a brother-sister pair. I go in with the sister to steal a laptop. We end up at opposite ends of the store. And I didn't write this down. Oh, you're lighting up at laptop.
Yeah.
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 Wait,
Just because
yeah.
it
You want
was
to talk about it? Or?
it was I had a laptop in the last episode in my
last
dream.
week, yeah.
Right.
And in my laptop dream, it was about a stolen laptop in a mall.
Oh yeah.
Huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
it wasn't a mall. No, it wasn't a mall. But it was kind of like a mall. There were escalators.
Right. Yeah, yours was like at an airport, right?
Yeah, it was like an airport school.
An airport school.
Anyway, continue.
Yeah.
You were trying to steal a laptop.
So I'm at like it's at the mall. This feels like it was like a big Target. And yeah, we were there to steal a laptop. And we end up at opposite ends of the store, and I lose sight of her, and we're each waiting in the long lines. And what I remember is just like big open Target looking space, and then just like very long lines all over the place, just like way more than you would actually ever see in reality. And so after the line, okay, this is a little vague. I can't remember exactly what happens here, but somehow I end up with the laptop. What I wrote is, after the line, someone I don't know brings me a laptop for the sister. So I assume like everything's good, like mission accomplished. Like she somehow had someone bring this thing to me, and so she must be fine. And so I go back to the van where the two friends are waiting, and we wait a long time, and I'm worried something happened to the sister because I like failed to stay near her. Oh, and then at some point in the dream, I like found her cell phone and then was like, oh, that's bad. And then I just like hung on to it, and I didn't say anything about it for a while. And then we kept waiting, and then I was like, oh, that's probably relevant. I should say something about that to somebody. So at some point I find her cell phone and forget to say anything. After long wait and her brother considering leaving without her, I say I think she may be in trouble. Shortly after, Evil Dead style zombies attack the mall. We make it out, but are still looking for the sister. And then eventually we find her, and I remember like going into, it kind of looked like a morgue kind of, you know, like with the drawers you pull out of the wall and everything. But in like kind of dark, like weird lighting and everything. But I remember us going in there, and we find her. She's a possessed deadite, and then this does not make sense, but this is what this was. She was like shaped like a living bag with teeth. It was like a little bag monster,
Like a paper bag?
like
A plastic bag?
like a leather bag.
Oh, like a purse?
Yeah, it was like a purse monster.
The Gucci beast.
Yeah, it was like a purse with teeth. And I remember I like rolled up a backpack. I was like jamming it into her monster mouth to like try and keep her like stopped.
And it had a gender.
It was definitely her. I don't know that the bag had a gender, but this was definitely this person that had gone missing that we found that was like possessed by
her
this demon.
I got you.
And when she was a bag, was it kind of like a disjunctive cognition thing where like you weren't even thinking about the fact that she was a bag? You were just like, oh yeah, there she is, our friend.
Yeah,
Okay.
It was. It was like it was her. She had undertaken like a monster transformation, as you would in an Evil Dead movie.
Okay.
But
you didn't witness
somehow. No, I didn't witness
That would
it.
be a cool scene to see in a movie, like a Werewolf in London style, kind of like transformation, but it's into like a purse.
Okay, but so there was a transformation that you were cognizant of, and that was her transforming into a like a zombie kind of deadite thing.
Yeah.
The purse thing was like a separate level of symbolism on top of that that you weren't thinking about.
Yeah, I think I realized after waking up that like what I was seeing with like a purse monster
Okay.
didn't make sense with the setup to how we got there. And I don't even know if she was a purse monster the whole time or if she only became a purse monster later in, but I remember a thing that was mostly a mouth with sharp teeth that was trying to bite people, and me trying to like shove like impromptu like stuff into this thing's mouth to disable it, to like basically like stop it from doing stuff while her brother was working on trying to like exorcise the demon. And that's where it ended, is that her brother was working on the demon thing. And like I said, I remember like rolling up a backpack and stuffing into this thing's mouth, and then I woke up shortly thereafter.
I do find it.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting. So I feel like a thing with dreams that we've all grown up with is that notion of, like if you dream about something that you have seen recently, or that is clearly influenced by something you've seen, like in movies or TV, that it's meaningless. Like people tend to write those dreams off. They're like, oh, you watched a horror movie right before bed, so you had a nightmare. But it feels to me like it still like means something. Like it has to mean something. Like it's not just your brain being like, that was fun, let's do it again, right?
I think like doing this podcast has kind of dispelled that myth for me. Like I don't think any of it is meaningless. Like I think that things leak in from your waking life, but it only in a way that they are symbolically relevant and like that they stuck with you and have some kind of meaning for you in that dream. Yeah. They're not just like random shit.
So you feel like whatever this dream means, like it's dressed in Evil Dead attire because it was just Victor's brain was like, yeah, that's good. That works for this metaphor.
Yes, that's what I think. I think it's like inspiration to like further deliver symbolic messages.
I tried with that.
That feels right to me. Yeah.
Side note,
I think
the first horror movie I ever saw when I was a real little kid was Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Oh God.
And I was super worried because I had heard my whole life that like horror movies will give you nightmares. And I had also heard spicy food will give you nightmares. And I remember I had a big bowl of something spicy right before bed and washed it down with some ice cream. And I was just convinced I was going to have the worst nightmare of my life. And I remember it vividly. The dream I had the night I watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre was about a like horse-sized bunny just sitting placidly in a pasture, just being really cute. And I went up to it and pet it. And it didn't like.
That's the contrarian in you, Zach.
It didn't jump and like, I wasn't even scared that, because if a horse-sized bunny jumped, it could definitely murder you, but that wasn't even, it was just a ridiculously cute dream.
That's funny. I find this dream interesting for a couple of reasons. One, the dreams that you have had and brought to the pod are usually like concise and like really simple, and I feel like this one is a little more complex and like leaning toward the like epic dream side of things. Like it's a little more reminiscent of some of the like long form dreams I've had where like things are shifting and changing. And the other thing that I think is interesting is that it features a pair of siblings, which I don't know what that means, but I just remember recently we had talked about how like you're an only child and that like you have no context for what like a sibling relationship might be. Mm-hmm. And so I wonder if that comes into play in this dream.
Yeah, it still felt very narrative to me though, even though it was like shifting and changing.
Definitely.
I feel like you dream in, I just feel like you have a story-driven brain, Victor.
Yeah, I do think a theme that's come up a couple of times in dreams is like that, like I, fail to do something or fail to take care of somebody, and then there's like repercussions, right? And so this comes up here where like I feel like a responsibility for this sister, and because I fail in my duty to protect them, first by being like allowing myself to be separated when we were in the store, and then like finding this phone and like not acting on that immediately. And like letting myself like forget that and then bring it up later are like 2 points where like I failed in my duty to protect somebody, and so now they're in danger, and then they're in a bad state at the end of the dream.
Yeah, that we were also talking about this recently, that seems to be the most recurring pattern in your dreams. I think maybe a good symbol to, or well, let's give you the option if you want to
Yeah.
approach this.
I just remembered this is a Victor dream, so I just pulled up Dream Bible because he's not supposed to do that on his own dream.
I was gonna say, you want me to move over and you can.
No, I got it. I got it.
I think that like handbag is maybe a good. Like, I just feel like at the very end when this like terrible thing has happened.
Did it feel like a handbag?
Like that's such.
I'm like, okay, I don't know that this was literally like a monster purse. I'm just saying, like, it was
you said
like
bag originally,
but it was a bag, right?
Yeah, and it was a thing that was mostly a mouth and like a sack attached to a mouth.
Okay, so you're just using that word to describe it.
This is the best descriptor for a thing that was mostly made of mouth.
Yeah, I think we put the word purse in his mouth.
It's just so such a vivid image. I really wanted it to be a purse monster. So maybe laptops and zombies and the mall. Does this feel like big three?
I pulled up siblings, stealing.
I was gonna say siblings, and there was like, I think the zombie thing is kind of relevant. You know, like that. That was like later at the end of the dream. The way the girl manifested was very Evil Dead, but like the zombies were more like traditional zombies, I think, or like it didn't feel as Evil Dead-y.
Okay.
Did you said it looked like Target, but was it in your dream? Was it the mall?
I remember like we were, I think, at the mall, and maybe like department store would be a good thing to search for.
I've had mall dreams before, so I know I've looked that symbol up.
Yeah. Mall dreams are, for me, they're very moody. They have like
yeah.
I guess I just have strong like aesthetic associations with the mall. I feel like as do a lot of millennials because it was a thing that was had a very specific feeling when we were kids, and then it just like died out completely.
Yeah.
I also always end up in weird stores in the dream mall, like a cross between like Spencer's and like the Hello Kitty store.
I feel like when I see
there's like the two like most iconic mall stores.
I feel like when I see malls in my dreams, it's not the stores. It's like escalators and fountains and fake palm trees.
Mm.
It's very vaporwave. So I have pulled up right now siblings, stealing, mall, department store, laptop, and zombies. Where do you want to start?
Start at the beginning.
Cool. To dream of siblings represents an alternative or competitive perspective. Negatively, dreaming of a sibling may reflect unpleasant feelings about yourself losing. Alternatively, it may reflect feelings or beliefs that are counterproductive to your well-being, such as insecurity, second-guessing yourself, or self-defeating habits, intentionally being depressed or choosing to lose. Positively, a sibling may reflect confidence, hope, or someone with more experience than you, a better idea than yours. If you have more than one sibling, these weren't your siblings, right?
No.
Your brother or sister may, no. To dream of a brother or sister that you don't actually have, still not accurate, right?
Yeah.
It gets into your sibling, but it starts off with just generic siblings, I think.
I mean, that first sentence just says to dream of siblings represents an alternative or competing perspective.
Did they feel like twins?
Not necessarily. Like, they didn't look the same, but I'm just trying to think of something that's maybe akin to it. They were similarly aged. Like, they felt like peer siblings. So, I just looked up twins. That's why she's asking that. And says to dream of fraternal twins may reflect feelings about similarities to others that are not obvious and require discussing. Negatively, fraternal twins may reflect a need to lie about perfect equality in a relationship so nobody gets their feelings hurt. A need to openly discuss how someone else is just as good as you when you don't really believe it. That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting because this is, all of this is like your sibling, under sibling. The idea that you just dream of two other people that don't exist in real life but are related to each other.
Well, what's interesting is what I was saying before is that, Victor, you were just telling me that you have no context. Like, I brought up something about like, oh, like siblings or like my relationship with my sibling or whatever. And your response was like, I really have no context for what that kind of relationship is like. And so it kind of makes sense that if you were to dream of siblings, you would externalize that into siblings with each other, but not with you necessarily.
Right.
Maybe.
Because you're an only child, Victor? Is that what you said? And Olivia, you had...
Now I am. No.
Oh,
okay.
God.
That's, yeah.
Ever since I absorbed the other one in the womb.
Right.
And Olivia, you have a brother and a sister?
Correct.
I knew that. I was just saying it for the listener. Yeah, it's hard to... I feel like it would be hard to explain to an only child what it's like to have a sibling and vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just... Yeah, it's something I've thought about before, that like it's just not an experience that I've had, you know. So
Even
I
among
feel like
people with
shapes it.
siblings, like I don't know what it's like to be a middle child, like Olivia.
Mm.
I only know what it's like to be a big brother to a sister, which is a different experience than having a little brother.
In this dream, did the siblings seem younger than you or the same age as you?
Same age. It felt like we were all peers. There's also one other guy, but I don't really remember him playing much of an active role. It was like me and this brother and this other guy were like hanging out in this van waiting for this guy's sister to come out, and she has not shown up.
What something that I just considered is that it seems like in this dream you felt responsible for her to a certain extent, and that is not dissimilar from how you might feel in a sibling relationship.
Yeah, it kind of felt like leaving a partner in crime behind, you know? It's like we went in there to do a mission together, and like I didn't take care of her. And so like that's on me, you know?
Yeah, that feels a little related to this one snippet in the sibling entry that says a little kid's sister may symbolize feelings of responsibility or annoyance.
Do we want to read the part about having a laptop stolen? Because you guys were stealing a laptop. I wonder if we can like flip-flop that into something that makes sense here.
There's also a stealing entry.
Yeah,
So
I have
maybe
that
that's
pulled
relevant.
up.
Oh, cool.
To dream of losing your laptop or having your laptop stolen may reflect fears of having to start over from scratch when you believed you were getting ahead in life, losing power, employment, or resources that allow you to think about the more interesting areas of your life, feeling that you've lost your ability to get ahead in life or plan interesting things.
Is this like the Redneck Willy Wonka dream? Like, because if that's what having a laptop stolen means, then you could assume that stealing a laptop might mean like trying to like devise a way to get ahead by like making your own way.
Yeah, I think those are interesting dots to connect. I don't know that it resonates.
Well, should we read stealing and see if we can actually, if that helps us like flip the flop?
Yeah.
To dream that you are stealing from someone, to dream that you are stealing from someone else represents your contempt, disobedience, or disrespect for someone else. Taking advantage of someone else who has not shown you respect, defying the rules when they have not worked in your favor, restoring self-respect in situations where you are unrecognized or undervalued, awareness of yourself being selfish, wanting something you can't have or feel you don't deserve, wanting something for nothing.
Was the laptop, did it seem like you were stealing it for her, for the sister? Or was she just part of the plan? Was it for everybody?
I don't have a clear sense of like who was going to benefit from stealing the laptop. Like, I don't know if it was for me or for her or how that happened.
Just for the thrill of it.
I was taking another look at the laptop entry. And I think maybe like the more broad definition might connect here. To dream of a laptop computer represents awareness of a thinking style that looks better or is more sophisticated than average. A higher level of interest in how you're thinking. Maybe more motivated or excited to explore yourself or improve yourself. So like it might be like maybe the broad laptop symbolism is more relevant than the having your laptop stolen. I'm not sure how any of this connects so far though.
What about that part feels like it resonates?
It's not that it feels it resonates. It's that I think that's more likely to be a piece of the puzzle than
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, a lot of your dream Bible, or a lot of your symbols in the dream Bible, are from the wrong angle. You know what I mean? Like, you dreamt about siblings, but they weren't your sibling. And there's not really a lot of content here on that. And the same thing with stealing and robbery. There's not a lot about, a lot of this is about you being stolen from, not about you stealing.
Right.
Related to stealing is robbery. And there's a paragraph here that says, to dream that you rob someone may represent situations where you are forcing people to do things that may make them unhappy or permanently lose their enthusiasm. Telling someone what to do while knowing that they don't like it. Outright stealing your success or taking credit that isn't yours. Feelings about a situation being too easy or taking advantage of others. None of that sounds like you. Unless you're having some sort of like, you know, anxiety about something that, you know.
Anxiety?
You know.
Victor?
Yeah.
You like imposter syndrome or something. Like, you feel like, you know.
Wait, how'd you get there? Well, because I mean, that sounds like me. So let's start there. How did you get to that place?
Because this paragraph is all about, like, to dream that you rob someone may represent situations where you're forcing people, robbing their enthusiasm, making people do stuff, outright stealing your success. I guess that's where I got the imposter syndrome. Outright stealing your success or taking credit that isn't yours. That doesn't sound like a thing. I mean, that's definitely not a thing you would do, but it sounds like the kind of thing you might worry that you've done because of anxiety.
Right.
Exactly. And that's like that's what Victor brought up at the beginning of this, which is that he keeps having these dreams where he does something that the effects of it are that somebody else gets hurt, or that and so like him having an anxiety of hurting other people, like in that way, it makes sense.
Also, in addition to imposter syndrome, there's a little bit of survivor's guilt in here. I don't know if that's a thing you can relate to, Victor, but feelings about a situation being too easy or taking advantage of others. To me, that the way that hits me is that feeling of like when things go right and you have that guilt about it where you're like, well, why should they be going right for me, you know?
I think that's like what I'm feeling for the sister in this dream, is like that we went in, we did this thing together, and now she's like suffering some consequence, and like I just kind of got in and got out, and I'm having no problems, you know? Yeah. So I'm definitely like some of my guilt there is like survivor guilt of like we did this thing together, I'm fine, she's not, like feeling like I owe her something.
Can we hear the mall entry?
Yeah. We have mall and department store. I'll start with mall.
I want to hear the mall.
Okay. Malls and zombies, by the way, classic combination.
Oh yeah, for
Dawn
sure.
of the Dead. To dream of a mall represents your search for acceptable roles, choices, beliefs, and ideas. A time in which you are establishing your identity and making choices that will affect your sense of self. Being in mall symbolizes decisions or preferences that make you who you are. A mall represents social settings or social development where you are exploring options or decisions about what you want or who you will become. It reflects the manner in which you go about getting what you want in life or choices that define who you are.
That's the first thing that's felt like it's resonated, because I do feel like I'm in a place where I'm trying to figure out like what to do with myself and like where to channel my time and my energy, you know?
Interesting. Yeah, this middle paragraph, a dream of a mall, excuse me, a dream of a mall can show up when you are deciding who you want to date, making changes to your lifestyle, or experiencing changes in your personality.
Yeah, I think I recently feel like I'm just like I'm a projects guy. Like I was talking about like working on board games when we were doing the Willy Wonka thing. I'm doing this thing lately where I'm like hyper focusing on a project for like a couple of weeks or a month, and then I get caught up in something else and move on to the next thing that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I do that all the time.
And I keep bouncing around from thing to thing, like pouring myself into it, but I'm like having a hard time finishing stuff, partly because I'm having a hard time finding something that like feels right. It's not so much that I can't continue to focus on a thing. It's that like I learn enough about it to be like, I'm not sure that this is the road I should be on right now. And then something else catches my attention. I move on to the next thing. So it's like, I'm very much in a place where I just want to find the thing that I want to pour my energy into. And, like I got a thing I'm working on right now, but I don't know if that's going to stick around, and, I just want to find the thing that I care about and like doing and the direction I want to run in for a couple of years. And I just haven't found that thing,
Were there any specific stores in the mall? Or you mentioned Target, that it felt like a Target.
Yeah, I don't remember anything on the interior other than this store that we walked into. So it's kind of like, like you're in a mall, you go in through the door and you're immediately in a department store and you kind of maybe just only stay in that store. That was kind of the experience.
I gotcha. I just found it funny that here it says the stores in a mall may symbolize the state of mind with the themes that are symbolized. For example, a store such as the Gap could symbolize a more proper or conservative lifestyle, whereas a more urban clothing store may symbolize a more desirous personality choice.
So what does Spencer's Gifts and Hello Kitty mishmash store represent?
I think that's up to you.
It means you need therapy, is what I mean.
Yeah, actually the whole mall paragraph sounds like being in a place of like personal development too. Like that was what I was thinking of for myself when I was reading it, was like, search for acceptable roles, choices, beliefs, and ideas, a time in which you're establishing your identity and making choices that will affect your sense of self. That sounds
that gels with everything you were just saying.
That makes a lot of sense too. If you think about like what you were just talking about, like how a mall felt when you were a teenager, and it very much is like, okay, well, there's this store if you're this kind of person, and then there's this store if you're that kind of person.
Yeah.
And
actually, which is super interesting when you read the department store entry, because you didn't see any of those like Spencer's Gifts or Hot Topics or anything. You were like in the department store, which the entry is: to dream of a department store represents intelligent fulfillment of goals, needs, or wishes that you have, asking questions, doing research, or negotiating what you want, not feeling any pressure about a choice you are considering.
That does feel like where I'm at. I'm very much like trying to carefully consider like what I want to do with myself and where I want to go next,
Because you're sick of, or maybe not sick of, but you don't want to keep cycling through your various interests. You want to like hone in on one for an extended period of time.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I don't know. I feel like my life has grown and changed in a lot of wonderful ways over the last, several years or whatever. And in some ways, I'm much happier and much more fulfilled than I was like a couple years back. But there are parts of myself that feel like they're kind of stuck in like arrested development and just have like not grown in a while, or like that feel like they have not been like stimulated in a while. And I'm just trying to figure out, I'm kind of in a place where it's like, I feel like I'm not my full self in all the ways that I want to be. I'm like chasing self-actualization, and I'm not there yet. I'm trying to figure out how I get there,
Yeah.
And a lot of that is like professional, or like with what I want to do as like a member of like society and my community and like that stuff. I feel like I haven't made a lot of headway in that part of my life in a couple of years, and I just feel like a yearning there,
Yeah. Do you think that plays into the zombies entry here? To dream of a zombie represents automatic or blind thinking, a sign that you are too concerned with what other people think or that you are not thinking for yourself. It may also reflect jealousy of not pleasing others. Not sure what that means. Desperately following others or trying to impress others. It may also reflect feelings about people who don't think for themselves. Right, like where trance comes up. It's, what we think of zombies to be, these like id-driven, pattern-driven, mindless creatures.
Yeah. The only thing that maybe resonates there is maybe like an outsized interest in pleasing others, like sometimes I do get into my head about like how I'm perceived when I should be focusing on like internal validation instead of like worrying about like the external, but other than that, it doesn't really feel like it clicks with anything.
Yeah.
I think as far as like the narrative of the dream, that represented like a crystallization of like the threat to the person that I had let down, right? So it's like I spent a portion of the dream in like a worry place of like not knowing if there was a problem, and then the zombie attack represented like confirmation of an issue of like, this person's in danger, I've let this person down, instead of what's going on with them, So yeah, as far as the symbol, I'm not, like I said, and most of that didn't feel like it clicked for anything that's going on with me, but narratively, it was just a threat.
Yeah, I don't know how you do this, by the way. Like read dream Bible entries and think critically.
Yeah.
This is very multitasking. Yeah.
It's tricky, yeah. Do you have any thoughts, Liv, on any of this?
I feel like what I was saying originally about the laptop, about stealing the laptop, kind of does play into this.
All right. So to dream of losing your laptop or having your laptop stolen may reflect fears of having to start over from scratch when you believed you were getting ahead in life.
Getting ahead in life. That's what made me think of this the first time. Does that resonate with the rest of the pieces?
I mean, the idea, I think, is like, well, if your laptop is stolen, then like your potential has been taken from you, or whatever, or like your ability to grow and have nice things or whatever has been stolen away from you. So if you flip it, I have like unfairly snatched success away or whatever.
Yeah, which was part of the stealing entry too. Is that...
And the unfairly part, obviously, all of this is like your own perception of yourself, right? Like, I think I see you, get sucked into a project and really work hard to get something to a place where it's gonna go somewhere. And then, like, I think a thing that comes up for you is like that self-doubt where you will express like, who am I to like think I can just like make this happen, right? I don't know if that's a thing that actually holds you back all that much, but I do hear you express that sometimes.
That might come up for me sometimes, but I don't feel like that's like a strong force in my life, that like that particular concern. I think I feel that with like music more than I feel it with like some of the other stuff that I work on. Is like an artistic thing. Is like, there's a lot out there, and a lot of it's really good, and so like when you're trying to put stuff out, it's like, well, what am I doing?
Well, could this dream be about music? Because you are putting some music out, and there are other people involved this time.
Yeah, I mean, if I take your interpretation of the laptop thing, it's like that would suggest that I have like some maybe guilt or anxiety that I am unduly getting ahead in life, and like, yeah, I kind of think there's some truth to that. Like, I do feel like my life's very good, and for a number of reasons, like sometimes I feel like super fortunate, and like I'm playing on easy mode sometimes, you know? Like I've had like a very stable job that's taken good care of me for a long time when like things are just fucking crazy out there for most people, and like yeah, I've had like a lot of support, and yeah, sometimes it's like something I have been thinking about as I bounce from project to project is like, well, I have all of this support, I have all of this stability. If I can't turn that into something, then like, what does that say about me, you know? Because if you can't make something of worth from that place, then you just don't have it in you, you know?
Or that's the concern. That's the worry.
Yeah. That's the worry. Yeah. Or like that's a thing that
That's not necessarily the truth.
yeah, but it's a thing I was thinking
Yeah, for
about
sure.
recently. So yeah. Not to get too vulnerable on this podcast
About being vulnerable.
about being vulnerable. Yeah.
I hate to take a pause, but I'm sorry, I have to pee.
It's okay. I'm going to do a quick cry. So we're good.
Okay. Say something about different liquids, different holes. Equally cathartic.
I can't remember any of what we were just talking about. So yeah, no, let's move on. No, I'm joking.
I blacked out.
I was trying. Yeah, that's the joke I was trying to make. But yeah,
Yeah, it seems like it was bringing up thoughts and ideas and like feelings that you've had, but
that's how I feel a lot of the time when we've been doing this. And I don't know if it's just because like I've got some walls up that I'm not like able to notice or whatever, but like they're definitely, when we're doing this, sometimes it clicks, but other times it's like, well, I can make that symbol fit, but I don't know how to like synthesize it into like one thing or like one like that connects to like an immediate thing going on with me, you know?
I can relate to that. That is how this feels for me a lot of the time too. But also a thing that has happened recently a few times for you is Zach or I will edit the episode and put it out, and then when you listen to the episode you'll be like, I know what the dream's about.
That's true.
And it is a different experience hearing it. Like being analytical about something you're absorbing like from a third party perspective is really different from like being analytical in the moment in conversation, especially about your own shit, you know?
Yeah, it's a really different experience to be in the hot seat. Like I'm comfortable doing the analysis, I think, where it's like, okay, I've got this dream and I've got all these puzzle pieces and I get to sit here and try and piece together how they fit together. Being in the hot seat is more like just like letting stuff come at you, trying to be receptive to it, and then like just kind of waiting for something to click, it feels like.
Yeah. Which is, I don't know if there always is something to click. I mean, the amount of times that there is something to click kind of suggests that like maybe there always is. But it also, I don't know, it makes sense to me that like thoughts and feelings would be enough to create a dream. Like, if these are just the themes of the things you've been thinking about, that would be enough to generate a dream.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be
about
like
a situation.
Exactly about a perfect situation that you've experienced. It can be about, you know, symbols that are related to things you've been thinking and feeling. And you can probably apply to various situations. And then sometimes it's like, oh, this is very specifically about this one thing that happened on Tuesday.
Right.
But not every time. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said at the top, like first thing that was obvious to me was there's this through line of me not doing what I needed to do to take care of somebody else, and so they're suffering, or like I've caused a problem by like failing a social obligation, and then I do feel like there's something there about I kind of float through this situation. I float through a lot of this until the final confrontation with this girl that I've wronged, right? And who is suffering because of it. And then I'm basically just finding ways to shut her up, right? I'm like literally like shoving things into her mouth so that she's like not able to do anything. So like, I mean, like I said, I something that has been on my mind recently is like feeling like I should be able to do something with what I have, and then also like feeling like I'm not there for like people the way I should be. Like I don't feel like I'm like there for my community the way I should be, I'm just instead like single-mindedly focused on like how do I do something that feels like an accomplishment, and that's not the best way to live, right? So I just
it feels like enough to inspire a dream.
I mean that's just broadly the stuff I've been struggling with is like, oh man, I want to check off these life accomplishment boxes, and then also, oh man, like chasing these life accomplishment boxes feels really hollow. And like, how do I find a way to do that and also feel like I'm doing something that's like good for my soul, and struggling to figure that out,
Something that sets this dream apart from the other dreams where your actions have inadvertently hurt somebody. The person that you hurt then became a threat to you at the end.
That's true. Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but just throwing it out there for future Victor when you're listening. Does this click? Does this resonate? Let us know. You can write into thejungandtherestlesspod at Gmail.
Wait, let me write that down.
Some things are going to be, have a spark and be open and shut. And some things are going to be like an ongoing narrative, like like some of these thoughts and feelings are things you've talked about before. And it's probably all going somewhere more specific, you know what I mean? That we couldn't possibly do in one episode. So this is just like,
we're chipping away
a
at
scene in the first act of a story.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I do feel like really a little uncomfortable or a little vulnerable talking about this, but I also feel like it's got to be pretty universal to be just like trying to find a thing you can do that feels like meaningful.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Yeah.
I just I don't know. It's like not knowing what that thing is that is like where your time and energy should go. It can, I don't know, for me it's just kind of like eating me up,
Yeah.
But,
I think potentially a reason for the lack of like a click sometimes with your dreams, Victor, is your pre-existing self-awareness. So, because I feel like sometimes, just speaking for myself, when we hit something in a dream where I'm like, oh shit, like I have an epiphany of some sort, it's because it is something that, and I like to consider myself as a self-aware person, but like in those moments, I think it's something that maybe is still just the tip of the iceberg, but it feels like an epiphany, and it feels like we cracked the code because we just cracked something open for the first time. And if that is already open for you, then there's not going to be a spark the first time that we hit it, because you've already been thinking about it.
Yeah. That sounds right.
And also that I feel like I've been kind of in the same place for a long time. Like, I hate to say that, but like, I feel like I've just been spinning my wheels in the same place for quite a while, you know?
That might be true. Because I mean, when we started this pod, I had just moved to Los Angeles and like made a bunch of life changes. So it makes sense that I, for one, would have a lot of like epiphanies right in a row when I'm forcing growth and individuation by virtue of circumstance.
Yeah, you're in the thick of it. Like you're doing stuff that changes your life and your circumstances. Yeah. But like I said, it's really just like a particular part of my life that I feel is stagnant. It's very much like it's career stuff. It's been career stuff for a long time. Of like, just like, what do I do that feels like it has value in the world in some way, you know? That's like,
oh, so you mean beyond your
constantly
side projects? Like you're looking at how do you change your like the bulk of your week?
Yeah, or if I can find like a side project that scratches that itch for me, where it's like, well, sure, my like day job doesn't feel meaningful, whatever it is, but I have this thing that I'm doing that I care about, you know? Like, I feel like that, you know, I'm a sim, and that bar on my little, like, sim life thing is, like, down at empty or close to empty, and it drives me a little crazy because it's just an unmet need, and everything else is fine, but that one thing just eats at me all the time, you know? Did you guys play The Sims?
Yeah, no, that was a great reference. That was great.
So I'm pissing and shitting on the floor and
crying and gibberish.
And I'm just going to keep doing that until I can charge that bar, like just like a little bit, just like past my minimum, you know? But really everything else is great. It's just like this one part of my life that feels like kind of a black hole, and I just have not cracked it, you know?
Yeah. I don't know if you can relate to this about music, but this is something I haven't like, I don't think I've like really talked about this out loud. Or like, I don't know, music is something that I do like compulsively. Like it's just something I've always been obsessed with, and it feels like an element of the universe. You know what I mean? More so than a personality trait or an interest or anything. It just feels like it's something that I have to do and will always do. But insofar as it becoming like a career or even like a thing I'm recognized for or whatever, like I go to shows now and I watch bands on stage and I don't feel like, oh, it should be me up there. I don't feel that anymore. I used to like be really driven by, I don't know if it's ego or like, aspiration. I don't know what it is. Like there's something different from 19-year-old Zach versus 33-year-old Zach when it comes to music. And where I'm at now feels a lot more like pure like need to express, even if very few people ever hear it. But sometimes I do struggle with that. Like where did that drive go? And what direction should it go in now that would be fulfilling? You know, I'm not sure if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I'm at like a different place with it. Like I was in that same like really driven like big aspirations, and like for a while there was like I couldn't listen to music that was too like even like adjacent, like genre adjacent to the stuff that I wanted to do, because just listening to it would like drive me crazy, because it was like, well, if I think that it's worse than what I'm making, right, well then why are they doing that when like I'm sitting here, like I should be up there, like what am I doing?
Yeah.
That's keeping
You're like, I should quit my day job and pour everything into this, because if they can make it, I can make it.
And then if I perceive them as like doing something better than what I'm doing, then it's like, I'm a piece of shit. I'm wasting my time. I'm not putting enough energy into this. I should be putting more time into this to get better at it. So that like ate me up for a little while, and I stopped listening to music and kind of just had like a weird experience with that, and got really into like lo-fi hip hop because it was like far enough away from like I got really into beats, because it was just like so removed from the kind of music that I like to make,
Mm-hmm.
But where I am now, it's like, I don't know. I used to write songs. Like I'd write like a couple songs a month. And I was really consistent and prolific for a long time. But so much of that was built around isolation for me. It was like living alone or having a lot of alone time, and like part of what allowed me to write music came out of that aloneness or whatever. And I'm not alone at this phase of my life. Like I have a full life and loving partner, and spend most of my time surrounded by people and animals and stuff. And so like part of me still has like that yearning of like, oh man, I haven't written something in a long time, but like it's just because like the circumstances that are kind of like the recipe for me to like be writing a lot is just like not there, So like I recorded a bunch of music recently, and I'm figuring out how I'm going to put it out, but it kind of feels like, it almost feels like a preservation of a thing that once existed on some level,
Yeah.
Like
no,
I feel like
yeah.
I'm like documenting a thing that I used to do. And part of me wants to like still be writing. I still tried every now and then. I've written a couple good songs in the last couple years, Jesus Christ. But it slowed way down.
Yeah.
And
No, I'm in a very similar situation because the main resource that I lack is time. When it comes to writing, I mean, I have no money either, but these days you don't need a lot of that to record.
Right, yeah.
You just need time, which I have none of. But I don't know. I also am like working on a body of songs. I get an LP, I guess. But it is not like with the intention of like, I'm going to shake the world with this. I'm going to put this out and sell it, yada yada. It is more like a documentation, like, because like I said, I'm always going to be writing. I can't not write music. That it's like, it just feels too good to give up. It's like meditation or something.
Yeah.
I don't meditate, but like I imagine it's what it's like for other people. It just feels good to do, and so does recording it and capturing it. It's gonna be a while before I finish this because, like I said, I have no time. But yeah, I don't know. I guess the reasons I had in the past to record stuff have fallen away, and part of that is that the things that are taking up my time feel more worthwhile than the things that used to take up my time. So I'm happier. And therefore putting fewer eggs in that one basket.
I remember like this is a little corny, but like Neutral Milk Hotel,
Oh,
right? Yeah. So like when I was younger and that band was having like a big influence on me, it used to like drive me a little crazy of like, how do you have this like massively successful hit and then just stop? You're just done. You just walk away from it, not making music anymore, not putting it out. How do you do that? And I was just reading about it.
Now it makes a little more sense.
Weeks ago. I was just reading a couple weeks ago about like, when they got that big swell of success, the I think his name's Jeff Magnum, the main like songwriting force there. Like he had like mental health stuff that came up. Was just like really overwhelmed by everything, and just like as soon as the band caught wind, he was like, I can't do this. I need to not do this and go do my own thing. And when I was younger, didn't like to imagine a version of myself that didn't feel like compelled to be writing and playing music and being angsty about it and really trying to make that work or whatever. And like I had this like fear of the person I might be, of being like a boring person or whatever. And now that I'm there, I'm like, oh yeah, like I'm there, I'm experiencing it. And it's just funny how that is kind of how life is a lot of the time. Like I was just talking to Olivia the other day about like, I remember when I was a kid having this like anxiety about puberty, because all my understanding was it was very mysterious, but my understanding is like that your brain was just going to change and you're just going to be a different person, because like totally different set of like drives and interests, and like we're different, you know? And it's like, that's terrifying. It's like dying, right? It's like you got like, your brain got reset and you got turned into like a pod person or something.
Puberty is terrifying.
And I know this is fucked up. I don't really mean this, but like something evil in my heart kind of feels that way about people with kids. I'm like, they're zombies. They're pod people. Like how could, just because it's so different than my life. So it's like, how do you live? Like, how are you able to operate that way? I know it's not true, but like, it's just hard for me to like imagine the version of myself that is doing that, you know? I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that is unimaginable until you're doing it.
Right.
Yeah, I was just
And I
gonna
do
say,
think that there's a distinction. Like like the people you know who have kids, like even if you were good friends with them before they had kids, you probably don't spend time with them in the same way that you did. Because it's when you have kids, it's easier to spend time with other people who have kids.
Yeah.
And so like, yeah, like a lot changes. Your brain is literally rewired when you have a kid. Like,
yeah, a lot like puberty.
yeah,
Because once you go through puberty, you have a hard time remembering what it was like to not to you know, be prepubescent.
right. And I think both of those things, when you're on the other side of it, you don't wish it didn't happen.
Nah.
Usually,
You don't want to go back.
you don't want to go back to pre-puberty, even though everything is different and also like you have lost some things, you know. There are things that don't come back, but also there's things that you can't even comprehend prior to going through it, right?
Yeah.
Things that you'll gain that you can't have any concept of, which is why they seem like pod people, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
This actually, like, to me, makes parenthood appealing, though, because one of my gripes with adulthood is that there are no more puberties.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it is kind of like the
That's the
next
last
big
one.
exciting thing.
Yeah, because I remember being like, you know, post puberty, like a teenager, and thinking that when I was 33, like I am now, that something would have happened like puberty to make me a different person, aka an adult. Like there was going to be another fundamental cerebral change that made me like that made me become the type of person that I saw my dad to be, for example. And now that I'm
Right.
33, I realize like that doesn't happen. You're the same guy you were as a teenager, just with a bunch more experiences and responsibility.
Right.
Unless you have kids, maybe.
Right.
Or something else that rewires your brain. Trauma, maybe.
After the accident.
It was never the same.
The accidental child.
I remember having this teacher in high school that like everybody loved this guy. He was like very popular. I don't remember what prompted this, but it's like he was very popular among the students. And I remember him going off on like a rant one time. Because we were like, I think seniors or whatever, right? I remember him going on a rant one time where he was basically like, we're not peers. We're not friends. He was telling this to like a group of kids. It was like, we're not peers. We're not friends. We will never be peers or friends. Like, I will never hang out with you. We are never, doesn't matter if you graduated or you're done with college or whatever. We are never going to be buds because we will always be at like fundamentally different places in our lives. Like I am an adult man with kids. Like, and even if you become an adult man with kids, your kids are going to be 2 and mine are going to be 14. We're always going to be at such different places in life that we're never going to be like, we're never going to connect on that level. And that stuck with me because it is like, yeah, you are always you're like kind of on a track, and there's the people kind of around your same age, and then some of them are kind of doing the same thing, and everybody else you're sort of like always going to have some amount of distance from. I do know, like, obviously as you get older, like the older you get, the less like age matters, but there's still like all of these other factors that really put you in just like a totally different way of living and being and thinking than other people around you.
Yeah. Which I don't think precludes you from friendship. If anything, I think that's like, I mean, I have friends in their 40s with kids, and like that's an interesting dynamic to me. Like I feel like I'm doing recon when I hang out with them.
I think it makes sense for like
For
a teacher to try and draw that line with his students, but I just thought that stuck with me, the way that he framed that and the way that he thought of that.
It does feel like students and teachers should have some sort of like HIPAA agreement.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you for listening to The Young and the Restless.
You can follow us on social media at The Young and the Restless Pod and submit your dreams for interpretation to thejungandtherestlesspod@gmail.com.
And as we always say,
it's sleepy time somewhere.
That's a cute one.